Today, we had to put a different starter in here, a high torque starter, a smaller starter. It came off a Dodge Dakota, what year?
93.
93 Dodge Dakota. It lined right up on the 318. A lot smaller, a lot higher torque. The reason we had to switch that out is so that the headers would fit. Unfortunately, starter's that much smaller that your lead wires for your starter and stuff now are way too short. So what we're going to do is splice this, because of course you couldn't find what we needed to find. So we're going to put a splice kit down here, and we're actually using an underground wire splice kit. Really stable, really sturdy. Had one in the yard, aluminum wire. Decided to plant flowers one day, boom, cut the wire. So we used one of those. It's been in the ground 20 years and never had an issue on it. So we figured this is the best way to go. It is brass. It's got a heat tube that comes with it. So once we get it all together nice and tight, then we're just going to heat tube it. So the first thing we want to do is we got to cut this and get this bared back. We're going to try to cut it as close as we can, because we're going to add a bunch. We don't want to be short, but and we're hoping this one's going to be long enough, and that could very much be true. So we're going to unwrap this and see where this goes in at the base. We want to save as much as the original wiring. There's nothing wrong with the wiring. Like I said, it was just too short. Older stuff was definitely a lot more dense, a lot better quality. So we're going to try to use as much as we can of the old stuff. Unless it's bad, of course, then we've got to change it out. So, let's start with this piece. Check exactly how far we gotta bear this back. Leave a straight screw. Just because it says underground doesn't mean you have to use it underground. Product, Gardner Bedner, splice kit underground. You can buy them at almost every hardware store, except for the little town we live in. Hard to find anything. Definitely the best way to go on something like this. These little things, they work for certain applications, but they're kind of junk. And there's a center. You can figure out where the center is. So we want to strip it back at least that much so we get a nice solid connection in there. It's such a big heavy wire. About a year ago, trying to find a nice stereo, inexpensive for the garage, because of course we don't need something highly expensive, but we were able to pick up a nice little stereo system at a church sale in Manitowish Waters, Wisconsin. People donate their stuff there, and then they have actually nice and clean in there. No rust, no corrosion. That's what we're looking for. So we picked up a real nice little stereo today, so we got sound in the garage again. Always nice to have a little bit of sound. The ideal we could just get this off, but they've got it crimped in there so tight. Yeah, we're gonna have to cut it. They actually use a machine in the factory to do that. Nice heavy gauge. And again, I'm checking for depth. So we bear it back right in there. Nice start, just cutting, squeezing it without cutting the wires. Now I got a good line. You want to fit it halfway square so it looks nice. Well, it fits in there good. Nice and snug where it's got to be. Where's your screwdriver? Don't be afraid to get tight with this. Trim it off just a little more. Little by little. Put the sleeve on. Be a bad thing to forget that. Not quite happy. Grab a little bigger screwdriver for that. So what's actually happening when we're running these screws in, you don't have to twist those wires, because what happens when you run those screws in, it actually flattens out the strands fills this brass plate with it. So it's full out. Every one of those strands now are making connection with the brass. Same thing on each side. Get the best possible connection. They use them underground, ground moves, ground sinks. These things hold tight. The big thing is, it's almost physically impossible to strip these. So we want to crank these things as tight as we can get them. Once that gets in there and cranks on it, it's actually cut into the wire and holding it tight. It's physically impossible for that hold to come back with the wire. And because we're doing it this way instead of running all new cable, which we couldn't buy the right size cable anyway, now we still got the fusible link and stuff that came originally with the car, so we're not going to have issues. One of the biggest things, you never know. So this is what they call a heat sink tube. So we're going to run a little bit of heat on that. This is a regular heat gun. Cheap heat gun. It's probably 30-40 bucks. Setting 1 to 10. Put it up on the highest setting because that's a pretty thick piece. And all we're going to do is make sure we're in the right position. We want it half and half. Whoever came up with this was really intelligent. This does work, and it does work nice. They'll shrink this tube right up when it gets hot enough. And that tube will sit tight over it. I want to get it to seal up the gaps. We don't want any moisture going in there. We might have to roll it a little bit. So now we got a nice tight seal in the ends that shrunk right down. I'm not going to touch it. Of course, it's hot. And that fluid come out is actually part of the glue that helps set up and hold that. So it's tight, waterproof, good as gold. We're good with that. Next thing we're going to do is run the extra wire that goes up the solenoid. And this one here, we were hoping we didn't have to extend it. And it doesn't look like we're going to have to. So all we got to do is bear this back, put an end on it. Starter's ready to go. We're ahead of the game today. It's going well for a change. Old cars, nothing goes easy. This didn't sync up right here in the center, so we're going to heat that up a little bit more, see if that'll sync up more. Just so I know it's nice and tight in there. There goes the spider that ain't gonna like the heat down there. She's good.